Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Jensen's. Hope you're doing well. It's time for another matchup of two behemoth fragrances to determine which is better. Those two fragrances are Montblanc Explorer and Armaf's Club de Nuit Intense Man. And for the purposes of this video, we're talking the original Club de Nuit Intense Man, not the Parfum version or the limited edition. The claim to fame of these two fragrances is basically that they smell similar to Creed Aventus, but at a much more affordable price point. So what I'm going to be doing is pitting these two fragrances up against each other in 10 different categories where they will be each scored from 1 to 10. And at the end, those scores will be added up to determine which is better. I also asked you guys on the community tab of my YouTube channel which one that you thought was better. So we'll have the results of that poll at the end of the video. And I also asked ChatGPT to do the same thing that I'm doing, scoring from 1 to 10 in these 10 different categories. And at the end, I'll tell you how ChatGPT scores these as well. So 3 different ways to determine which of these is truly the king. Both of these are linked in the description below. Feel free to check them out down there. And also feel free to check out these codes if you'd like to save some money at these different websites. All right, the first category, the opening. Which of these two fragrances smells best when you first spray them on? Most of you probably gonna have a pretty good idea of how this is gonna go as far as the opening goes with these two fragrances. Club de Nuit Intense Man is not known for having a great smelling opening. It's got a bit of an overabundance of lemon, you could say. Some people have compared it to the smell of a lemon household cleaner. It can be a bit harsh. It can be, frankly, not that enjoyable. That being said, the more that you do smell Club de Nuit Intense Man and the more that you wear it, the opening kind of grows on you. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but it does get less harsh once you know what to expect. But the first time you smell this, it may not be great. Sure, it might grow on you, but initially, the very first time, probably not gonna smell that good to you. Explorer smells much better to me. It's not as harsh. It's maybe not the most attention-grabbing opening out there, but it still smells really nice. It's fresh, it has a good amount of citrus in there, and it has some nice spices as well. It doesn't really have any smokiness to it off the top, whereas Club de Nuit Intense Man can have a bit. So you could say that CDNIM has a little more depth to it off the top, but still, Explorer smells better. So for the opening, Club de Nuit Intense Man is getting a 6. Frankly, I thought about giving it a 5, but like I said, as you smell it more, it grows on you a little bit, but still doesn't smell great. So a 6 for me and an 8 for Explorer. Now the Drydown, and the Drydown is a completely different story. Explorer still smells good in the Drydown, still smells very nice, very pleasant, but Club de Nuit Intense Man smells way better in the Drydown than it does in the opening. This one improves as it stays on your skin. Explorer pretty much as good in the Drydown as the opening. Club de Nuit Intense Man gets smoother. It still has a good depth to the fragrance. You know, it's got a heft to it. Gets a little more sweetness as it dries down that melds with that kind of smokiness that it has. And I think just overall becomes much more appealing the longer it stays on your skin. So for Club de Nuit Intense Man, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 in the Drydown. Explorer, an 8 once again. On to the next category, versatility. Which of these fragrances can you use more places, more often? Well, frankly, they're both really versatile fragrances. Club de Nuit Intense Man is a little bit, as I said before, smokier, a little bit heavier. So maybe in some situations like middle of summer, you would want to go for something else, but it would work better in winter than Explorer because Explorer is the fresher of the two fragrances. You do have maybe some potential issues with Club de Nuit Intense Man in terms of how much push it has, where it could be too cloying for some different situations, like maybe to the office, you might want to wear something different, for example. And overall, I think between the two, Explorer is the more versatile fragrance. I think that with Explorer, you could wear this just about anywhere. Really, the only time that I could think of that Explorer wouldn't be a good match is if you're going somewhere in the middle of winter and you're gonna be outside the whole time or something. And maybe like a more formal situation, you might wanna go with something else, but to be fair, if you're not gonna wear Explorer in that more formal situation, you're probably not gonna wear Club de Nuit Intense Man either. But overall, both of these really versatile scents. Daytime they work, evening they work, most seasons, most times they will work really well. So Explorer a 9 out of 10 in terms of versatility. It's basically got blue fragrance versatility. Club de Nuit Intense Man, a little bit less versatile, and 8 out of 10 for me. Now, compliment factor. Which of these fragrances more often will solicit compliments? Both of these are compliment-getting fragrances. That's one of the reasons that these are so popular, that these sell so well. I do think one of these slightly edges out the other in terms of compliments though. And which of those fragrances edges the other out? Well, for me, Club de Nuit Intense Man. In the Drydown specifically, Club de Nuit Intense Man is a big compliment puller, which is to the ire of so many people out there that hate Club de Nuit Intense Man, like people that just hate fragrance clones. They get so frustrated that Club de Nuit Intense Man does very well in terms of pulling compliments for people. Especially when you smell the opening here, you may not think of it as a compliment beast, because when you smell that opening, again, it's not great. But when this dries in the air, it smells really appealing to people. A solid compliment pulling scent. Explorer, also a very solid compliment pulling fragrance, but it's not quite as in your face as Club de Nuit Intense Man. This one is a little bit more likely to grab people's attention as they walk by or you walk by them. But still, both of these really solid. 7.5 for Explorer, Club de Nuit Intense Man, and 8. I know maybe some people would say, no, Explorer is my most complimented ever, or CDNIM is my most complimented ever. And these both are, as I said, extremely solid compliment pullers, but there are fragrances that just outperform these even more. You know, the 9s, the 10s, the real like, crazy ones. Performance time, longevity up first. Yeah, this is where I think CDNIM is gonna start to make a comeback. Explorer is a solid performing fragrance. It's not bad, it's not weak, but it's not really beast mode either. It lasts a good amount of time off my skin. I'm never gonna complain about Explorer having weak performance, because for the type of scent that this is, which at the end of the day is more fresh, spicy, woody, it does well. But Club de Nuit Intense Man does better. CDNIM, at least my bottle, I know some people will say, oh, mine is very weak, this one doesn't last that long, whatever, but my experience with it, it lasts a very long time off my skin. Enough so that it is noticeably stronger than Explorer. Of course, you could always spray more sprays with Explorer, but in terms of a one-to-one, you know, 3 sprays here, 3 sprays here of each one of these, this one's gonna last longer. So here, Explorer gets a 7, a solid score. CDNIM gets a 9. Yeah, it's really long lasting, all day or all night. Longevity is not the only side of performance though, there's also projection. And here as well, CDNIM projects just a little bit more. Explorer, still solid, gets the job done. I would give this a 7. So both a 7 for projection and longevity both. Again, for this type of scent, it gets the job done. I have no complaints. CDNIM does push out a bit more. Projection is well above average for Club de Nuit Intense Man. Maybe not like full-on crazy beast mode, so I'd give it an 8 out of 10, but still a very good fragrance the whole way around when you're talking performance. It projects extremely well, it cuts through the cold, it lasts a really long time. That's also why it lost a point in versatility, because I think in summertime, I would much rather wear Explorer. And while CDNIM is better for winter than Explorer, I think I'd rather wear Explorer in winter than CDNIM in the middle of summer. Some people will disagree, but that's my viewpoint here. Now, value for money. How much do these cost? How much can you pick them up for? And are they a good value for that price? Explorer, as of this video at Joma Shop, is about $50 for a 100 ml size bottle. You can sometimes find that for less at other discounters, but as of this video, when I'm filming right now, it is sold out at Fragrance Buy and it's cheaper at Joma Shop than Fragrance Net, so we're using Joma Shop prices for both of these since it's more easily comparable right now. CDNIM is about $30 for a 105 ml size bottle, so 20 bucks less for a very slightly larger bottle size. Yeah, 105. I mean, I don't know what they did. Both of these are great value for the money at the end of the day, because you get fragrances that have good performance, that have good versatility, and good complement factors. So they're really ticking all the boxes and they don't cost that much. So for Explorer, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10, very good value for money. For CD&IM, a 9 out of 10 because it is $20 less and you get a whole whopping 5 milliliters more. But it's not all just value for money. What is the perceived quality for the price? My personal perceived quality. So yes, it's a good value for the money, right? But when you smell it, does it smell like the value is there in terms of the ingredients on the inside? For this one, for me, I think they're both good quality for the price. 50 bucks is not that expensive for a 100 ml size bottle of a fragrance that ticks all the boxes like this one does. And 30 bucks, yeah, at that price point, you're not getting much typically. So to have something that can do everything that this does for 30 bucks and that this does for 50 bucks, both of these very good. The quality is there in terms of what you're getting for the price. I give both of these an 8 out of 10. I think that when you smell them side by side, Explorer does smell like maybe the better put together fragrance, like it has a slightly higher quality overall, but it is $20 more, and so they kind of balance out. Now the presentation. Which of these has a better presentation overall? Club de Nuit Intense Man is ugly. I think this is a hideous looking bottle. It is not nice. The like little crystals on there, the hanging tag that's glued to the front. Explorer looks much better. I like this little leather wrap around the front. I like the cap, it's nice and heavy. You have the Montblanc logo on top of the atomizer there, just overall looks better. I was going to mark CD&IM down even further for the presentation. Then I thought about it, and it does have, at this point, kind of an iconic presentation, so I gave it an extra point back. Because when you look at the outline of this bottle, like all you have to see is the outline, you know immediately what that is. Yes, it's just a simple little rectangle, like square sort of bottle with a little square cap on top, but you know that's CD&IM. You could say the same thing for Explorer as well, but this one at this point is like, it's its own thing. Club de Nuit Intense Man. And to be fair, as time has gone on, they've made it look a little bit nicer. Like they've added lettering to the side of the bottle to try to elevate it a little bit. So still though, much worse than Explorer. So a 6.5 for Club de Nuit Intense Man for the presentation and an 8 for Explorer. You could maybe even convince me to bump Explorer up to like an 8.5 and Club de Nuit Intense Man down to a 6, but that's where we're sticking right now. And the final category, the uniqueness of each fragrance. Well, if we're honest here with uniqueness, neither one is super unique because at the end of the day, both of these are done to emulate Creed Aventus. And when I do the uniqueness category, I basically judge it based off of what else was out when these were released. If we're just doing uniqueness based off of today, because of how many different Aventus fragrances are out there, these would probably be like a, 2 or 3 out of 10. Very low because there are so many different Aventus style fragrances. But when they were first released, the landscape was different. Well, kind of different. So when Club de Nuit Intense Man came out, there weren't that many Creed Aventus cheap alternatives out there. Nowadays, obviously, that's completely different. There are cheap alternatives everywhere, but when this released, it was a bit different. The only really big one that was done in a way that people thought, okay, this one is like a genuine alternative was Insurrection Pure 2 from Ray and Tradition. There were other alternatives out there other than that one, but most of those were frankly awful, which is one of the reasons this one is so big today. Because this one actually did it in a way where people were like, okay, that one I can jive with. These other ones, not so much. So they were kind of first to market other than Ray and Tradition that did it in a way where people said, this is a great bang for the buck and it's a legitimate alternative. Explorer came out quite a bit later and there were many more alternatives by the point that this hit the market. Now you could say, as I said earlier, that this one is done better than this one and it is a different twist on Aventus. So it will get points for that, but so will CD&IM. So by the time this came out, obviously Club de Nuit Intense Man was already out. L'Aventure was out by Al Harame, and of course the Insurrection that we just talked about. Zara's Vibrant Leather was out. And you might think that this should get points because it was the first designer fragrance that came out and really did Aventus in a designer way instead of a straight up clone brand, but it actually wasn't. Mercedes-Benz had Mercedes-Benz Select come out, I believe, the year before Explorer, and that was basically an Aventus style fragrance. It's just Mercedes-Benz didn't have quite the push that Montblanc does, and also it was done in a different way. This one is more fresh woody as compared to Mercedes-Benz Select, which is a little bit more like fruity sweet. and this has better performance as well. So neither one, at the end of the day, super unique because these are, again, Aventus style fragrances, but I will give CD&IM a 6 out of 10 because it doesn't smell directly like Aventus, but as I said, it was really the first well-done alternative to Aventus at a cheap price point that people gravitated toward. Explorer, I will give a 5, and that's because this one was coming in after a lot of other fragrances had kind of laid the groundwork. And so when we add up all the points, Explorer has a 75.5, but CD&IM has a 77, which means that for me, Club de Nuit Intense Man, when you base it off of these 10 categories from 1 to 10, is the winner. But in terms of what I would rather wear most of the time, it would be Explorer. Explorer loses out mainly because of the performance, where CD&IM scores 3 more points than Explorer. If the performance was equal with both of these, Explorer would have won. Now let's check the community vote, which ones you guys said was better, and it was a close one. It went back and forth initially until it settled into what it stayed until the end, which was 47% to 53%, with the winner being Club de Nuit Intense Man. Initially, Explorer was winning for the first hour or two, and then CD&IM came back and held on until the end. So for me and you guys both, Club de Nuit Intense Man comes out on top, but what about AI? And for AI, Explorer comes out on top with a score of 78 versus 75 for CD&IM. So a really close one here with both my vote, your vote, and AI's vote. But with 2 out of 3 victories, Club de Nuit Intense Man comes out on top. Sorry, Explorer, you're still really good. So there we go, guys. Which one is better? CD&IM. I want to thank you all for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, guys. I will see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.
Thank you.